Hi, lovely seekers out there. Thank you so much for joining me here on this edition of Moon Magic. I'm really happy you're here with me. Yes, I'm a little bit over the top. It's been a long day. Welcome to Libra season. Happy birthday, all the Librans out there. Here we are talking about the Libra new moon on October 8th/9th. That night is when this will be occurring, depending on where you are in the world. It will be going exact at different times throughout that night. This is the opening ceremony of the Venus retrograde in many ways. It's the first significant moon position that we'll be having once Venus goes retrograde, which starts on October 5th. So, Venus retrograde starts on October 5th in Scorpio, and we have this Libra new moon a few days later. And the themes that are coming up, Libra is ruled by Venus. So the moon is going to be highly affected by the fact that we are now in a cycle, in a 6-week cycle, that is asking us to look at our self-worth, our self-value, how we love others, how we allow others to love us, where we feel blockages when it comes to abundance and love, and any old patterning that is no longer serving us when it comes to all the things that Venus rules. Retrogrades are a time of integration and self-reflection, and Venus retrograde is a specifically heavy-hitting one, and if you're interested, I'm going to leave the link for my Venus retrograde discussion below so that you can go check that out, because it informs everything that you'll be feeling contextually when it comes to this moon. So that's the first thing we have going on, is this Venus retrograde that is happening in the neighboring sign of Scorpio at the time of this new moon. New moons they're kind of my favorite part of the moon cycle in many ways, because they have so much potential. They have so much beautiful, warm, fuzzy cocoon energy around them. But the one trick with new moon energy is you kind of have to embrace the mystery of the process, right? When we want to have control, when we seek the feeling that we are the masters of the plan, this is when we trigger feelings. Actually, we start to trigger feelings of worthlessness, of lack, of fear, because our little child within us is feeling that they're in survival mode, and so they're looking for ways. That inner being is looking for ways, not the inner being, but that part of your mind that wants to survive is looking for ways to overcome the situation, right? And so one of the things that's coming up with this new moon is that we can't control in that way where it's like, I'm going to write out step by step how I'm going to get what I want, and nothing is going to get in my way to get what I want. We talked about this with the last new moon, the new moon in Virgo, accepting the wonder and the mystery and letting the universe wink at you. Well, that theme is coming back here, and then coming back with kind of a vengeance. So the really interesting thing about this moon is the aspects and how they reflect back things that happened at the beginning of this year. So we're already in this Venus retrograde, which is already making us think about past patterning. And in a more to the point thing, the aspects of this moon are very similar to the aspects, almost identical to the aspects of the Leo full moon on January 31st of this year. So we have within 1 degree, we have Ceres, minor planet Ceres, affecting this new moon, and we also have Neptune affecting this new moon. They're in a quincunx, which is this awkward kind of placement where there's a relationship, but the relationship's a little funny. It's a little hard to categorize, but those were aspects that were affecting the Leo full moon on January 31st. So you may be noticing themes from that, and that was a lunar eclipse. You may be noticing themes from that end of that January. People, conversations that you were having are coming back here for this new moon. And that can be a beautiful thing, actually. This can be, I think, things that you notice are cycling back through. These are things that are significant. These are things that probably are playing a big role in your life and have a substantial role to play. So already you can see how there's a lot of like this almost faded energy surrounding this new moon. because we have so much that is about mirrors and reflections, so much about integration, and so much about how time works and how we move through time and what comes back to meet us. Sometimes things that circle back a number of times are really meaningful and wonderful and are things that we're supposed to take with us to the future, right? Projects, meaningful relationships, locations, opportunities that keep showing up time and time again. Those are things we want to listen to. And sometimes the things that come back to meet us are things that we are holding on to and we really need to let go of. So one of the challenges of this new moon, I would say, is parsing through which is which, and taking the time in the darkness of a new moon to think about that, and to really get comfortable with thinking about letting your intuition guide you about which is which. Because here's the thing, you can analyze it, and Libran energy is so brilliant, right? Libran energy is extremely intellectual, very good at putting ideas together, very good at weighing the pros and cons, kind of classically known for that. We don't want to do that. When we're talking about a moon cycle, and when we're talking about a Venus retrograde, and we're talking about Neptune affecting this, and when we're talking about the nature of time, you can't intellectually analyze that and expect to get any kind of results. You could be entertained, you can even kind of come up with some interesting ideas, but you probably won't be able to figure out which category things and themes in your life fit into. So, here's my suggestion. Don't think too much on this new moon. This is a moon where we give birth to our intuitive callings and things that we already know. I'm going to talk about Ceres and Neptune here, and then I think I want to talk to you about maybe how to use the time during this new moon to the greatest effect. So Ceres is this minor planet, and that name is associated with this grain and fertility goddess. Now, I've talked about her in the Leo full moon video that I did in January. This is a fertility goddess. This is a goddess that is associated with full fruition of something. So I find that really interesting. She's showing up here, months and months later in this other moon cycle, right? What has grown steadily but surely? What has continued to expand and become something very full-formed and full-figured from the beginning of this year? That's one way to start looking at this new moon. Where have you felt that your roots have been able to spread and you've been able to create something very steadily and slowly? With all the retrograde action that's been going on in 2018, the things that have been able to continue to grow and open up, however quietly and gently, are things that probably are going to stick around for a little while, even through this Venus retrograde. So that's one aspect to think about. And that Ceres planet is within 1 degree of this new moon. So that's all wrapped up. That's the central conversation. Now we have Neptune at 14 degrees Pisces, and I'm just going to check here. Right, yeah, and the new moon is at 15 degrees of Libra. So we have the sun and moon at 15 degrees of Libra, and we have Neptune over quincunxing at 14 degrees of Pisces. That's where the intuitive kick really comes. Piscean energy is a lot about mirrors, and it's about projection, and Neptune rules like Hollywood and fantasy and all these beautiful dreamy things. And it can be a little bit of a confusing, foggy energy at times, because what is reality, right? We start to question what reality is because it's very hall of mirrors. So when this energy is kind of getting activated, the upside to that is you can let your imagination take you into all the different possibilities. And I think that's really where this energy is trying to take you. It's one of the major aspects going on here. It's trying to take you into that opening, because the Venus retrograde is trying to give birth to a new path, a new life path, a new way of connecting to your body and to what you love. And one of the first stages of that is going to be to connect with the mystery of the unfolding and who you are becoming, because you are becoming somebody that you haven't met yet. And we have to have a little bit of faith and fantasy in that becoming in order for it to fully be birthed. There's a lot about birth. There's a lot about transformation in this new moon. There's a lot about allowing those floodgates to open and not suppressing and holding back out of fear, because here's the thing, we are going to enter into a time of fog. Until mid-November, we aren't going to be able to see everything. We just aren't. We are going to be very much in the moment, feeling through things intuitively, day by day, week by week. It will only start to make sense once we hit into the end of November and we start to get into Sagittarius season. That's just because of timing and how things are timing out. That's about when we will start to really, things are going to start lighting up and lining up. But our first step here is to engage with the mystery of it and to engage in the fantastical play mystery of it. So there has to be a certain level of trust and excitement about that fantastical nature. And even more to the point, the sun, moon, Pluto's over there still in Capricorn, and he's close enough to this new moon, degree-wise, to be squaring off, right? They're squares. And squares always are a point of tension. Pluto likes to control things, wants to get master and commander kind of energy in many ways, wants to force the transformation, wants to get it done. There's a lot about obsession and control with Pluto. That's the shadow side of Pluto. And squaring off on this moon, there's going to be a part of you that's like, no, I can mastermind this. I can make this process happen the way that I want it to happen. I can figure it out from here. Certain things, sure, you can figure out. There's a lot of like very practical things in our lives that we're going to figure out. The new moon and the Venus retrograde aren't going to stop that. You can figure out your budget. You can plan and plot. Lots of very practical things. But when you're talking about your identity as a being, who you're going to love, where you're going to be living, who you're going to become as like a leader or as a community member or as a parent or as a partner, you cannot plot that. That is the challenge with this moon. Everybody's going to be going through a revolution in their soul, evolution, for the next couple of months. It's just the theme. And this moon is the first, like I said, opening ceremony. Are you going to embrace the mystery? And I mean, really embrace it. Like, really get into it. Get so relaxed that you're just like, yeah, bring on the winks. For those of you who are Abraham Hicks fans, really this is going to be a time when that is going to be extremely helpful, because it's all about relaxing enough to enjoy the ride. Page of Swords, very interesting popping out here. Clarity, actually, right? As much as I was just talking about fog and mystery, Page of Swords is here with us today. Page of Swords is a clarity. Communication is strong. And once again, because we have that return element of the Leo moon, and we have this whole like full circle energy coming through, there's a sense that you may be getting communication. You may be getting a lot of communication with this new moon. Once again, though, it might have an element of surprise. Page of Swords is kind of, likes to bring in the surprise, likes to bring in the unknown, likes to kind of take a chance, take a risk, try something out, see what happens. And you might be surprised with what this new moon brings. Seven of Cups. There's the wonder. Okay, Seven of Cups to me represents so much of what Venus retrograde is about and what the next couple of months are about. We are taking our time to kind of float through and feel through what we want to become. And this is an intuitive process that takes us up and out and through some many different filters and different lenses. Seven of Cups is about kind of parsing through all these cups. It's not about being down on the ground actually doing this. It's really about kind of feeling your way through the soul landscape. It's an odd thing to say, but that's really how it works. Especially with this Neptunian energy affecting a lot of things. And, you know, we're in Scorpio season. No, we're in Libra season, but we will be in Scorpio season near the end of the month. And that Scorpio energy is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger in October. And that means we're going to be doing some digging in Knight of Wands. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to pull one final card for this conversation. But we have two very forward-moving, very communicative, very spontaneous energies showing up here in the cards. This is interesting. Venus retrograde is kind of famous for bringing in fated events, fated meetings, fated conversations. I'm not going to say exactly what fate. Ten of Swords. Okay. That's intense. I don't know, you can see here how conversations and how movements are triggering up the fantasy world and the death of an old self. Ten of Swords is the death of an old self. It's a death of an old way of being. You may get information that helps you figure out what you're letting go of. But to me, the weird combo of these energies is exactly what Venus retrograde is about. I know this is a new moon video, but because we're just going to be getting our sea legs within this new retrograde, I'm talking about it a lot because people are going to be wanting to express things and fall in love and move on things and push things just the way the Page of Swords and the Knight of Wands do. But underneath that, what's really going on individually with people is all this here, is this sorting through dreams and fantasies and this death of old selves. You can see the dualism here and how it could get kind of confusing. Now, people that are positive in your life and coming in with this kind of communicative energy will completely be on board with this. You could talk about these themes for hours and they'll be like, yep, totally get it. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. It'll be super comfortable and probably really, really fun and warm. People who aren't getting this or that you don't feel support from when it comes to this internal process going on, you will feel it and you will know it. They will feel pushy. They will feel selfish. They will feel like they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to push. They don't want to push into that territory at all. Once again, I was saying, part of what we're doing here in this new moon is parsing through what we want to build on, what we want to continue building on, and what is an old pattern. Those are the themes. That's the theme. And the only way we're going to be able to feel through that is by our intuitive senses, by embracing the mystery, and by feeling out who feels like they're just pushing you and who feels like they're embracing you. That's a huge theme. And there's that dualism. And it's never just as black and white as all of that. Relationship isn't black and white. Relationship isn't all or nothing. It's a very layered experience. But there is also just this call to start making sure you're paying attention to what is falling away and what is building up. And you'll be able to tell which is which. I think you'll already know this. Even as I'm sitting here talking and before this moon happens, you probably have a sense of what it is that is falling away and what has been building. What tectonic shifts have been happening under the surface since January that have continued to build and blossom into something. And what things have fallen. What things have started to feel heavy. What things have started to feel like they no longer identify with you. Just let it sink in. Pay attention to the cues and the winks around this new moon, beginning of this month. There will be a lot. And you can get as much information as you are ready to hear at this time. So it's a very communicative moon. So sometimes we don't want to hear all the information at once. Sometimes we do. So be kind of aware of how much you're ready to hear, because if you invite it all in, you will get a lot of information. A lot of faded conversations, a lot of faded energy. I can feel it. I get butterflies in my stomach when I think about this new moon, and I don't even know. For me personally, I'm not even sure what that could mean. So, take it easy with the new moon. Take it easy with the new moon. Stay out of your intellectual mind as much as you can just during the new moon. Follow your gut instinct. Create some art. Create something beautiful. Spend some time in nature. Spend some time with other creative friends. Try not to get too in your head or too isolated. I would say that. And I think I'm going to close it out there. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this Libra adventure. I hope that this new moon is amazing for you, and I'm sending you all the best wishes for Venus retrograde. I do have a video for that. Like I said, I will link that below. And I also have a Venus retrograde toolkit videos on Vimeo for all 12 signs. For those of you who want a little check-in with an affirmation and some tips for how to kind of feel through that depending on what sign you are. So if you're interested in that, I'll leave all the info in the description box, plus how you can get in touch with me, how you can get in touch with PinkLune and her gorgeous jewelry, and all the good stuff is in the description box. And follow me on Instagram at @thesarahtarot. We are having so much fun, and I'm going to be committing to doing Venus retrograde updates very consistently the whole retrograde, so we can check in with each other and the journey ahead on that. So I love you all so much. I will see you for the next Moon Magic. We are going to have, what are we going to have? That's terrible. A Taurus full moon. A Taurus full moon in Scorpio. We will be in Scorpio season. That will be an interesting ride as well. Sending you all my love, and I'll see you very soon.